Okay, great. So today we will start a little bit on deep learning. So what is deep learning? Before that, we have to understand where is deep learning in the entire stack of machine learning or data science. So if I consider data science as this box, data science, then um, it comprises of uh, statistical modeling, okay, which is little bit of intersecting with machine learning, and inside machine learning we find deep learning, and then all of this can span across multiple domains. Domains means like NLP, natural language processing, computer vision, IoT, okay, and then many supply chain management, finance. So many domains are there in which this particular thing can be used. Okay. So, Siddharth, everybody can go on mute. Siddharth, Sivananda. Yeah.
I've got two queries.
Yeah.
What is this SM stand for? Sorry, I couldn't get that part.
Statistical modeling.
Okay. So, in this, so this is purely about the data science part of it. So, what does AI have in addition? Artificial intelligence, what addition do they have?
Yes, I am coming to you. So, in statistical modeling, we have exploratory data analysis, then uh, naive classifiers, then Bayesian statistics, conditional random fields, CRFs. So these are all statistical part of modeling. So if you remember in the first class, I taught you about what is a model, right? So model is just nothing but mimicking the reality. So how can we do that? We can do it in many ways. We can either do it statistically, or we can do it in a machine learning. What is machine learning? Tell you, or we can do it on deep learning. Any one of these we can use. Now, data science has many other fields also, like here Tableau, okay, Salesforce, then you have Power BI, then you have Excel. Okay, so data science is a very broad subject which contains a lot of things, but this part I will not cover because I don't know this much about this. Okay, on top of this, data science also has one more branch, that is cloud. So cloud contains all your things like how you want to deploy your machine learning models in the cloud, where you want to deploy, what is online learning, how can you on the fly change the models, how to make microservices. So microservices also will come under this. So all this will come under the cloud part of the data science. So currently, all the classes that we have gone through is on statistical modeling we have gone through. Okay. So we could have continued and finished statistical modeling, but I thought let's go into deep learning a little bit today to make it exciting. Then we can go on alternative days on deep learning and statistical modeling and machine learning. So machine learning is basically algorithm-based learning. Algorithm-based learning. Okay. So this is algorithm-based learning in the sense, how is it? One simple example is decision trees. I will explain this one in detail later, but just know that a decision tree is something which has a proper algorithm and which splits the data into a tree-like structure. Okay, splits the data into tree-like structure based on decisions, and there is an algorithm when, what, how much to split. Okay, each split has a Gini impurity score. According to the score, that splitting will happen, and all this is there. So there's an entropy factor also. But important here is what you understand is that this is also a model. Just like statistical models, Bayesian models, and so many models we have read already, right? Linear regression, all this. This is also a model. That means what? If you ask some question to this, it will give you some answers, just like this. But here, the engine is algorithm based, not statistics based, right? So statistics based is mostly data based, right? So we have sample data, we have a we are creating a model out of that data, and then we have some statistics. We apply some known formula on it. We think the distribution is Gaussian or Poisson or binomial. What kind of distribution it is according to that z-score statistics is there, then t-test is there, ANOVA is there, so many tests are there, and then we give the answers, right? So that is all statistical side. So we are giving the same questions, same answers, but using statistics. Here also same questions, answers, but using algorithms. Okay, this is our machine learning. Deep learning is same thing. Ask questions, get answers, but using neural nets. Okay, so this is the difference. This is based on statistics. This is based on algorithms. This is based on neural nets. Okay. Otherwise, in general, on a whole, they all are solving the same problem. They all are solving the same problem means they are trying to mimic a reality, a real situation, right? Like population of a country. So what is the, I want to model the population of a country. So if I think of the model as a black box, then I don't know that that black box is based on statistics, or it is based on algorithms, or it is based on deep learning or neural networks, right? But what I will do is that this model, this black box represents the population system of India, and if I ask any question to it, it will give me answers which will be very accurate to the population system of India. Like if I ask it the question like after 10 years, how many women will be there in the state of Karnataka, then it will give me an answer. Because that model is supposed to replace the real population system of India, right? Now, how that answer comes, whether it is through statistics or it is through machine learning or it is through neural networks, is the matter of choice of the developer or the data scientist who developed the model, right? So when we are coming to deep learning, we are developing models based on neural networks. Okay, now we will come to neural networks. So this should be very clear that modeling is the final goal. Okay, but when how to model, various ways are there. Now you, after having a lot of experience, you will tell that you will automatically come to know that this problem demands this kind of solution, whether ML solution or deep learning solution or statistics based solution. Okay, so sometimes means it is best to go by statistics based solutions, because statistics based solutions, what happens is that you have complete control over what is happening. Means you know why did your model give this answer. So that is very important. If you imagine a field of, say, a medical field or a defense area, So in defense, suppose there is a model which predicts the movement of the army, okay, like population system. So army movement system, there is a model. Suppose there is a model, army movement system, army movement model, army movement model. This is, so this one is a black box. I ask question to it that where will be the army by 10 p.m. Then it tells me an answer. Okay, based on this answer, I will deploy my soldiers in that place or do something. But this becomes a very critical answer. Now, if I don't understand how did this model give this answer in detail, then I am always in a doubt. Even though the accuracy of the model may be 99%, maybe it is 99% accurate. It has proven itself, but still there is a 1% doubt that it may give me wrong, and it will cost the life, cost a lot of lives. So there is the problem. There is the problem means instead of using a neural network here, I will prefer to use a statistical model here, because in statistical model, we understand the underlying math. We understand the reasons why this particular answer came out. So we can reason out, okay, oh, due to this, this happened. So it is always good to go with simpler models if you can achieve the same result. But what happens, unfortunately, not all systems are very simple. Like this army movement model, so many parameters will be there for this model, right? So many, weather, then the army's budget, then the number of foot soldiers, number of infantry, so many parameters will be there which will determine the movement of the army, right? So sometimes they can be expressed by simple statistical models, but sometimes they need a neural network. So how to determine in which situation do I need a neural network? Okay. Suppose, if you remember linear regression, what was it? Suppose this was the data of the army's movement. Okay, this was the data of army's movement. At time t, it is in place r, say, like this. Okay. Now I ask you that, Mr. Data Scientist, please develop a model, and I want to predict the movement of army at any time I want. You plot the army's movement in a graph, two-dimensional graph with time and geographic location. You see that it is a very nice linear distribution. Then what do you think? You think, let's go with linear regression. So you draw the best fit line, and then you ask the question, at time t is equal to n, the army will be here. Okay, at this place, at this geographic location. So then you do your thing. But if this data was distributed like this, right, then this linear regression, as I showed you last time by the R square and F score, right? I have a linear regression, yes, but how good is that linear regression? How good is it in predicting values in the future? How good it is? If the distribution is like this, then there is no guarantee that this will be the location that the army is in. The army can be much more nearer to me. It can be more far away than me also. So
Yeah, the confidence to predict will be very less.
yes, the confidence will be less. So then what you do? Oh, then I cannot go by linear regression. Then what you, so we have first we have cancelled statistical modeling. We have cancelled statistical modeling because we thought that these models have too many parameters and no known statistical model fits into this kind of data distribution. Okay, then we went to linear regression. And we saw that no, the R score and F values are too large, too less. So it's not a good solution. Okay. Then I go to maybe say decision trees. This is ML approach. In decision tree also there is some tests I do and I see that no, decision tree is also not enough for this model. Then I go to neural networks. Okay. So this should be always your approach in solving problems, not the other way around. Now, what is happening nowadays? People are coming from this side, okay? Because neural networks, they will, by definition, actually solve all problems, okay? Neural networks, by definition, has the ability to solve all problems, okay? So people don't give the effort to do all this research. They directly build a neural network and get labeled data and train it, and model is ready, and then deploy in the field. But problem is, what happens is that you cannot explain why a neural network took a decision X or Y. You will come to know why is it like this. Okay. In case of decision tree, you can. In case of linear regression, you can. In case of statistics modeling, you can. But in case of neural networks, it is very difficult to pinpoint that due to this factors, the model took this decision. You cannot say, okay, because the relationship that a neural network captures is very complex and completely non-linear in nature. Okay, so it is very difficult for a human being to predict that. Okay, so that is one reason that we should avoid using neural networks as much as possible. But there are situations where there is no other way, you have to use neural networks, then you go for neural network. Okay, another demerit of neural network is what? That most of the neural networks are supervised neural networks. That means you need a lot of training data. Okay, training data is required. So who will generate this training data? Who will generate this training data? Suppose I tell you, okay, before, I have not yet given you the introduction of a neural network, but consider this situation. You have consider a neural network as your brain only, okay, because the neural network is developed on the lines of human brain. So let's consider the neural network as you itself. Okay, let's tell that Nitesh is the neural network. Okay, now I am training Nitesh to become as a model of enemies movement prediction. Okay, so what will Nitesh require? Nitesh will definitely ask me, okay, give me as much information as you can about the enemy. What it eats, when it sleeps, how much budget they have, how much infantry they have, how many guns they carry, how many foot soldiers they have. All this information you give me. Plus, he will tell me, give the historical data of their movement in past battlefields. Right? In the battlefield in 1975, they moved in this pattern. In the battlefield of that, they moved in this pattern. So Nitesh will take all this information, and after processing all this information, he will be able to give me some solid answers. Okay. Now, without this information, Nitesh is as good as an empty box, right? I hire Nitesh to tell me enemy's movement, but I don't give him any information or training data. Then Nitesh is as good as a empty box. There is no point in hiring Nitesh. So that means the training data has to be there for a neural network to work, supervised at least. Unsupervised, will come to that. But supervised deep learning or supervised neural networks require training data to work properly. Now, one more demerit. This demerit that first training data will require. That one is not required in say the machine learning or linear regression. That much of data is not required. Very less data is required in this type of modelings. Okay, so that's why these are preferred. Second thing is who is generating this data. Suppose Nitesh is very capable, he is very smart and sharp guy, but Imran is gathering the total information which Nitesh will process. But Imran is not that sharp. Imran is not that capable. So he collected the data, true, but he collected too many wrong and absurd data. Some data he collected right, but a lot of incorrect data also he collected. But Nitesh has no control over it, right? So Nitesh will tell Imran that give me data. Imran will give the data. Nitesh will understand it and predict. And we will die all in the field because the data itself on which the training happened was wrong, right? So you not only need training data, you need very accurate training data. Okay, the quality of the training data has to be very good. Okay, otherwise your training, your model, everything is bogus. Nothing, no, there's no point. Okay, so a model is as good as the training data. Okay, so suppose handwriting recognition is a deep learning problem. I have to recognize handwriting of a person. Okay, now I am obviously I need training data, so I will hire some people who are handwriting experts, and they will tell me that this handwriting belongs to this person, this belongs to this person, and they will make a list and give me, right? Now, if those people are not skilled, then what will happen? My handwriting recognition model also will not be that good. Okay, so there is always a risk that your neural network model will never surpass the intelligence and 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 the intelligence of the people who create the training data for it. Okay, so there is always a limit on that. That's why there's another reason that neural networks are avoided. But say after saying all this, there are many architectures of neural networks which are extremely efficient. Extremely efficient. If you have little bit of also correct, accurate training data, they can do wonders. Okay, like GANs, transformers, autoencoders, decoders, LSTMs. There are many architecture of neural networks which are really good, and they outperform any other type of modeling very easily. We'll read about those models also. Okay, so it's not like neural networks is all bad, but we have to very carefully and practically use them in the field. Okay, so this is yeah, sure.
Yeah, like neural network, like it can achieve both linear and non-linear things, right?
Yes.
So in supervised, supervised learning, whatever models are there, so apart from linear regression, all other can achieve non-linear things. Like if
So
data is non-linear,
neural network is itself non-linear.
yeah.
Okay, so it can detect and capture any type of relationship, whether linear or non-linear.
But the models like supervised learning, models like decision tree, random
Yeah,
forest, these
yeah,
are also non-linear, right?
yeah. Decision tree is also non-linear, but it has a limit. It cannot go beyond a limit. So suppose your model has 1000 parameters. There are 1000 parameters that can be changed to take a decision. Then your decision tree will grow such a huge decision tree it will become that it is better not to have it. Okay, so when you have 20-30 parameters, then decision tree is a good choice. But you have 1,000 parameters, then it is does not make a sense, right? So suppose you are predicting whether a planet is habitable or not. So NASA has a lot of deep learning models, right? So they predict whether a planet is habitable or not. They have so many parameters for that. How much light is coming from there? What is the verbal effect? How much heat is generated, what is the wavelength of light coming from there. So many parameters are there. If they develop a decision tree model, will it be able to predict it? No. A decision tree model will be created because that's an algorithm. So a tree will be created, but the tree's depth will be in thousands. So if you ask that tree a question, the answer that will come very late, and it will also not be accurate. So that's better to go to neural networks. And one more is NASA has lot of historical data. So so many years of research they have done. So they have huge amount of data already with them. So why not make use of that? So neural network is always a better choice than any other approach, right? But if you are writing an algorithm for a simple classification, dog versus a cat, then and you write a huge neural network for that, then it is unnecessary, right? It is not that it will not be able to detect dog versus a cat, it will be able to detect, but it is unnecessary. Okay, so as a data scientist, you have to always make your choices very clear and crisp, and with enough reason that why you are choosing a particular model and why you are not. Okay. Okay.
So, Vishwa, in short, we have to give reasons for elimination of the other models.
Right. You have to give reasons to eliminate the other models.
Okay.
And after some time, actually, it will be very natural to you. You all automatically know that, okay, in industry, these problems are solved by these networks, and these problems are solved by these networks. So everything will become very obvious to you. So like you are in whatever domain you are in now in your job, right? So now you don't do a homework before applying a solution. It is obvious to you. So when you are in that field, deep learning in the data science field for say 2-3 years, then you will be also similar way you will understand. Okay, oh, time forecasting problem, I have to use a LSTM. I will do that. So it becomes very obvious. Okay. So now, what is a deep learning? What is a neural network? Okay. So neural network will start with one neuron. Okay. This is one neuron. Okay. Okay. So, okay, one very powerful analogy of a neural network is a integrated circuit board. IC chip, integrated circuit chip. If you guys know, ever you have seen. So in college, you have read about gates, right? Logic gates, AND gate, OR gate, XOR gate, NOR gate, NOT gate. All these type of gates you have read, right? So, yeah, so we have read about this so many types of gates. When we develop a chip, suppose this chip is a mobile chip, right? Samsung mobile chip. So it is doing so many tasks. It is able to capture wavelengths, convert them into sound waves, take pictures, so many things it is able to do. But it is, if you break it down, this is suppose this is a chip. if I minutely see, this is nothing but a collection of gates. This gate, this gate, this gate, this gate, this gate, this gate, right? So a board is a printed PCB. It is called a printed circuit board. A PCB is nothing but many n number of gates, logic gates printed on a board and connected through silicon, right? Individually, they are doing very trivial task, right? AND gate is whether when two signal is on, then it is on. If any one is off or both are off, it is off. So individually, each gate is very trivial in nature. But when I combine them in a circuit, right, in a big board, then they can achieve wonderful things, right? So what is an electrical appliance? An electrical appliance is nothing but an instrument through which current passes. That's it, right? If I see an electric bulb, this is an electric bulb, right? So what happens? Current goes in, current comes out. In the process, there is an element here which gets heated. Otherwise, nothing else is happening. It's the most simplest electrical appliance ever in the world, electric bulb. Current goes in, comes out. While going in and out, it heats up a metal filament like tungsten or something. And when it heats up, that heat creates light and we get light. Okay, so this is a bulb. So same way, if you think our computer, the CPU, also what is going into a CPU? Current is going into a CPU and coming out of the CPU. But it is able to do wonderful things. You are able to play games. You are able to write MS Word documents. You are able to do photoshopping. You are doing internet browsing. You are sending emails. Whatnot you are doing. But all is happening with that current flowing in and out. That's it. There is no other magic that is happening. Okay. So for once, think about it very deeply. That no magic is happening. Current is going in, current is coming out, and this current is going in a circuit board and coming out of a circuit board, and each circuit board has a definitive task. Like this circuit board may be converting the wavelengths to voice, and then voice to wavelengths back. Okay, so current is going in, it is converting wavelength to voice and coming out voice to wavelength. And how it is doing it? By the combination of multiple gates, logic gates, AND gate, NOR gates, OR gates. And at the tiniest level, each gate is what? Very simple one circuit. Either current is going off or not going. That's it. So the same principle works in our brain. The same principle works for neural networks. Okay. So before coming to neural network, I gave you the example of its logic gates and electronics area. Now let's come to brain. In brain, what happens? We have a neural cell. Okay. In the neural cell has many branches called dendrites. Okay. The structure of the neural cell is little different. This is the nucleus. Okay. So these dendrites are connected with other dendrites. This is our one more neural cell. Okay. So in between these two dendrites, they are not connected physically, but there is a hollow gap in between them. Okay. There is a hollow gap in between them. That gap is filled with ions. Okay. Sodium ion, potassium ion, this type of ions are there, positively charged or negatively charged. Okay. Depending on an electrical signal that comes in this dendrite, which is a very low voltage. In our brain also, each neural cell, dendrons, a voltage is going on, potential difference. Okay, like wires, like electrical wires, a current is coming. Okay, but that is a very feeble current. This current will either jump to this dendrite or it will not, depending on the contents of this space. How many sodium ions are there, potassium ions are there, plus many neurotransmitters like dopamine, serotonin, anything are there, right? So depending on their presence, this current will jump to this wire or it will not jump. That's it. That is the only job. And if it jumps, then it continues its path to this cell. From this cell, again, it goes to some other. But the beauty of our brain is that such types of arrangement are in trillions of numbers. Okay. Just 100 gate could convert wavelength into voice and voice into wavelength. Then imagine such trillion neural cells can achieve wonders. And that's why human being is so intelligent and we are doing so wonderful things, right? So the same application, the same logic is used in a neural network. So in a neural network, imagine computer in terms of computers, okay? In terms of programming, in terms of programming thing, you have a memory location. Right? You have a memory location. What is a memory location? It's a variable. It's a variable, C variable or Java variable or Python variable, whatever. So you have a memory location. To that memory location, some data is coming. Say 1 is coming here, 2 is coming here. This path has a weight. This part has a weight means importance. Weight means importance. Okay. Think like that. How much importance? 0.3. And this path has a weight of 0.2. So this path is little more important than this path. That is the arrangement. Why we will see later. But this is the arrangement. So 1 is coming in this path, 2 is coming in this path. So this variable's value becomes V is equal to 1 into 0.3 plus
V is the voltage, Vishwa.
V is the variable.
Variable.
V is equal to 1 into 0.3 plus 2 into 0.2. Simple linear combination. Linear combination, right? Y is equal to ax plus by. Okay, ax plus by, yeah. X plus by is equal to 0, sorry. X plus by is equal to 0. This is linear combination, right? A, B are coefficients, X and Y are two variables, and this is a linear combination. Here also same. coefficient sorry, this is coefficient multiplied by the value, coefficient multiplied by the value, linear combination. Okay, so I can write this one in general terms, right? Like sigma I j I into j, right? Where ij value starts from 0 to n. Right? So the variable's value is this one, summation, linear summation of whatever is coming and whatever is the weight of that path. I combine all of this and create the variable's value. Whatever I get on top of this, I apply a activation function called, say, sigma. Now, say this value is 100. After calculation, this value, or let's say here only, whatever it is, 0.3 plus 0.4, 0.7. So the value is 0.7. On 0.7, I apply one function sigma. Now, what is sigma? Sigma is an activation function. What is activation function? It is similar to this gap here, whether the charge will jump or not. So there are many types of activation functions: ReLU, leaky ReLU, tanh, sigmoid. Okay. The job of all these activation functions is to either neutralize the variable's value and send nothing this way, or to send something on the other side. Either not to send or to send. That is the job of the activation function. So that means what? A single neuron is nothing but sigma of summation ij to n I into j. Okay. Now only one difference. Here we will add one bias parameter. I will tell you that later. Okay, so this is what happens in one neuron. This is what happens in one neuron. Such types of variables or neurons, hundreds of them are connected in series parallel to each other. And how this connection and this activation or whatever helps in learning something, I'll explain you in the next class. Okay. So our analogy of neural networks is of two types: with the integrated circuit board, with the brain, and then in the brain when in the neural circuit, this is our this bias. I will tell you in the next class, and how this one helps in hundreds of them together, helps in learning something, we will know. The same way also human beings learn, the same way the electronic devices work. Okay, there's nothing new concept in there. The same new concept, old concept, but since now there is the storage and computing power is available, therefore this is becoming a reality. In the 1960s and 50s, that was not a reality. That's why it's not possible. Okay, any questions?
No, Visha, for this one, we understood the analogy and came till this one. The previous one which we missed, only request is please record and upload. And
Yeah.
this we have to anyhow go through it again.
Okay. 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 Siddharth, Shivananda, clear?
Yes, Mr.
Yeah, clear.
Okay.
Vishwa, I have got one question, Hitesh here.
Yeah.
If you are okay, can I call you after or maybe tomorrow morning? I'll give you a call.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. I
Okay.
have some doubts here.
Okay. Okay.
I'll ping you before. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. No problem. Okay. Thank you, guys.
Bisawai, I have one now.
Yeah.
I don't think it is relevant to others.
Yeah. Still ask. Go ahead.
Yeah, actually, in our office, the data we are basically analyzing is like a kind of continuous flow data. Like every 15 minutes, it's generating a new data.
Okay.
Like new data in the sense, you can say like it can be a same data, can be a different data.
Okay.
Because it tracks the set of boxes, temperature, like that kind of parameter it tracks.
Okay.
So in such case, if we are considering one data and we are building the neural network, so if in future, if we are getting the live data is whatever it's coming, right? If it is getting completely different, then will our neural network be adjusted accordingly based on the weights? Or you got me, right?
See, neural network, one demerit is that the neural network architecture cannot be changed. Okay. That means suppose a neural network takes n inputs and gives m outputs, then your system should always have n inputs and m outputs. It cannot have tomorrow n dash inputs and m dash outputs. So that is one problem. That should not happen. But if that is not changing, and you have a stream of data, and you also have their corresponding label data, that is the training data, then I don't see any problem. The model should train itself by whenever the data changes, it will train itself, provided there is enough data to for the model to means identify the pattern. Like it means if it is very quickly it is changing, then what will happen is before identifying any pattern itself, the model, the data
Right,
has
yeah.
changed.
Yeah, that's what my that's what I was thinking, because in our project, like the labels are not changing, that you were saying, right? Input data will change, end data will come every time, but the values will differ, like
Oh,
for example.
so means this is about sampling of data. Sampling of data means I should have a good sample of training data for each label, right? So suppose I have 10 labels, I'm doing classification. So I should have enough data for sampling of each label, say 1,000 for each 10 samples. Then I have good data. But suppose in your stream of data, you have only data which is giving out results for only just 2 samples and rest 8 samples are not never coming, then the model will be biased towards those 2 samples. Then you have to do there are some techniques called upsampling, how to do for the other labels. Then you can do it and you can achieve that.
Yeah, that's all.
Okay. Okay, guys. Thank you. We'll see you meet on Saturday.
Okay. Thank you, guys.